Hi, and welcome to Positively Sparking, podcasts on internet marketing, online business, entrepreneurship, and digital living. Today I'm with Ann Hawkins, business mentor and founder of the new online networking group, Drive the Network. Today, Ann offers us her insights into what she believes makes true foundations for a successful business. Hi Ann, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks, Phil. It's great to connect with you.
And you too. We were talking just before we started coming on the podcast about all the different things we share. We're actually from the same area, which is incredible in itself.
Yeah, but you sound as though you've been visiting it a bit more regular than I have over the years.
It's always good to go back up to Cumbria, you know? I wish I could go more.
It is very beautiful, that's for sure.
So Ann, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you came to do it.
Well, I'm based in Cambridge now, the wonderful metropolis. Been living here for about 30 years. And what I do is help people who own businesses to make more money with less effort. Because an awful lot of people who start a business do it because they want to do something that they love, and then realise that the whole thing of running a business is important, but often quite boring and something that they didn't sign up for. So I take people through the basics of what it's like to actually get a business so that it can run without them, because that's what most successful businesses do. They don't rely on the owner being there 24/7.
Interesting stuff. So would you say that most new business people start out with the opposite mentality?
Yes, as I say, most people start out because they want to do something they love. You know, they want to be a photographer or a copywriter or, you know, all manner of things, a marketer, a podcaster, whatever. And then they sort of get stuck and say, well, should I be a limited company? Do I have to register for VAT? How do I deal with all this stuff? You know, if you want to employ somebody, that's a whole other can of worms, and I don't want to go down that route, but how do I grow? And all that kind of stuff, you know, and people just get bogged down in the detail. And actually, running a business is such a standard kind of, you know, most successful businesses run along the same lines. There are certain things that you have to do to make a business work. And if the business owner doesn't want to do them, they have to find somebody else to do those things. But they have to be done.
So it's almost like a formula.
Yeah. And it's about pricing, margins, making sure you make a profit, that you've got more of a profit than you need to live on, so that you can reinvest in the business. And all of that really should come before you start. But too often it comes after, when people are sort of, you know, they're barely scraping a living and they're thinking, how is this ever going to work? So that's how I try and get involved as soon as possible, so that, you know, people can get a really good start and a good foundation. But very often I get involved when it's been going for 2 or 3 years, and people are getting worn out because they're working so hard but not making any progress.
Sure. And I guess that's that very, very human trait of we don't reach for help until we're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we were talking about networking before we started the podcast, but, you know, there are so many networks where people go and put on a brave face and they have to pretend that business is fantastic because that's how they get more business. And yet it's just not true. And it puts so much of a strain on people when, if they were in a trusted network, they could just reach out and say to people, you know, how did you do it? Because I really need some help. And being in a peer group of people who know how businesses work is so powerful and so supportive. It's just great.
I know one thing I learned coming from Cumbria, and, you know, coming from the not nice part of the county, was example is so important in life. And when I look back on my childhood there, the greatest disadvantage coming from a disadvantaged area was lack of example. And so I can understand how your peer group there, with a collection of people who know what makes the business tick, is just being in that presence is a great inspiration and kind of guidance in itself. So I'm going to go back and ask you a bit about the formula that you've already mentioned that I'm very excited about for successful business. But first of all, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are the common problems that you come across in every business you meet? You've mentioned already about people contacting you later than you'd like, and working really hard and not making progress. What other things are common across businesses?
Well, there's a really depressing statistic that they reckon that about 94% of small businesses fail before they get to 5 years old. And the reason they all fail is because they run out of money. So that's just so shocking that it hardly bears thinking about, because when you translate that into real life, that's people's hopes and dreams and their life savings and often their family's support and all kinds of things that have just gone down the drain. And it really needn't happen, if people can get the foundations right. But that is the most common problem, that people, small businesses, just run out of money and they run out of time. They can't get the resources together to keep going long enough to make that profit.
And so when a business comes to you in that situation, what can you do?
Well, it's a bit difficult if they don't have any money at all, because I don't work for nothing. So that's the first thing. It's trying. I'll always give people some help, and it's often the most useful thing you can say to people is just put your prices up. People very rarely buy on price, unless it's a tin of baked beans or something, and even then, there's differences. But people rarely buy on price. So if you put your prices up, by 10%, you might lose, 2 or 3 customers. But the difference that makes to your bottom line, because all the margins and everything else stay the same, so you're actually making more profit on fewer customers by increasing your prices. So, if I could give one piece of advice to almost every small business, it's put your prices up, because the customers that love you will stay with you anyway, because it's not about the price. And that then gives people a bit of breathing space, that they can see that works, and then I can work with them and help them to get that on a more regular footing.
So that's a great point, Anne, about price. And I'm going to ask you what I'm sure many of your clients ask you, but Anne, I can't put my prices up. There's competition from China, from other parts of the world who are undercutting me. How do you respond in that scenario? Differentiate.
Sell on something other than price. Find out what you do that your customers love, and it could be good service, it might be better materials, it might be just something unique that you do that nobody else does because it's you. And very often in a small business, what people are buying into is the owner. It's not the product or the service, it's the personality of the owner. And that personal connection that you can have, because in a small business, you are the business. And that's really what people are buying. And nobody can imitate that. So even if there's someone providing a very similar service or a very similar product, they can't do it the way you can do it.
Absolutely. We're all individuals, and you're encouraging us to reflect that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Be remarkable.
Totally. Yeah. Aim to be elite. It's a tough thing to do, isn't it? When you're in a business that is grinding you down and every day is full of too much time taken and not enough time to think, it's a tough thing to aim for. Often, do you find a lot of your clients come to you when they're ready to escape, really?
Sometimes, but most of them have got such a passion for what they do. They really want to have a lifestyle that is about doing what they want to do and not being, you're not having to work with people they don't want to work with. And that's what keeps them going. Providing a great service or making a great product is what really keeps them going, because that's what they want to deliver. And all they need to do is to find a way to get paid what that's worth. And there are ways to do that.
Great. So, Anne, before we chatted about when people approach you and the common problems that businesses have, you mentioned this interesting phrase, the formula, and the foundations for a successful business. Could you tell us a few of those, or all of them if we have time?
Yeah, sure. So I call it work smart. So work smart, not hard. And it's all about, really conserving that precious time, not having to work 24/7. And the world we live in now makes it so easy it's so easy in some ways to do that because of the technology, but it's also more difficult because there is so much choice. So what I'd say to people is automate everything that can be automated. So if you're sending out invoices, send them out as soon as the job is done. Don't wait and do them all at the end of the month. And use something like Xero or one of the, a cloud-based program that makes it so easy. It doesn't just send the invoice, it'll send a reminder if the invoice isn't paid, and you don't have to touch anything once you've set it up. So, things like that are just basic things for every business. Every business needs to invoice, so get that sorted out, get it automated. Use a CRM, even if it's just an Excel spreadsheet, but any CRM is better than no CRM. So that means that you've got all of your contacts in one place. And they're always up to date, and get them synced with your phone and your email and your everything else, all the other systems that you use. There are people who do this for a very small amount of money who will help you to get everything synced, so that you're not wasting time looking for a contact, looking for a phone number or an email or something like that. And that will sync with your invoicing system, so that's all in one place and it's all working together. And then the last time you spoke to that customer, the next time you're supposed to be speaking to them, what they've bought from you, what they might want to buy from you that they might not know about yet. So you can build that into some kind of email marketing system and put them in sections of what product or service they've got, and just get all of that so that you've got a basic business package and you don't have to worry about it. And then you can do what you do best, which is deliver and make those personal contacts.
Very good. So it's all about freeing up that time to do what you do best.
Yeah.
Playing yourself in the best role.
And using, our wonderful digital world that we live in now to its best effect.
Yes. Because it can be the opposite, as you mentioned in the beginning. I know myself, as a web marketeer, I am online all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can be very distracting, if the World Cup is on, or I'm thinking about a holiday in X amount of time. It's so easy to drift off and lose a half hour or more looking at things that are just wasting your time. So when you're helping companies optimize their time, what is it something that they welcome, or is there resistance?
Oh, huge resistance. Because people get set in their ways. It's very easy to say, well, I've always used this email system. I've always used Outlook, and I don't want to look at Gmail or anything like that. Or I've used this CRM system, and it doesn't integrate with anything, but I like it. so there's a lot of it's kind of education, I suppose, but just showing people how much that can free up. And people doing their own VAT returns at the weekend, when you can hire a bookkeeper for a lot less than most people make an hour. Bookkeepers are amazing people. The value they add to a business is extraordinary, and I'd recommend everybody have a bookkeeper from day one. Most small businesses don't need an accountant straight away, but a bookkeeper is fantastic. So that's something that's well worth the investment.
Great stuff. Do you think some of the reason there is a resistance there is because when we're starting out in business, we're very conscious of money, and so any cost, whether it's a bookkeeper or an accounting app or a CRM system, seems like something we should not do yet. Is that one of the resistances you come across?
It is, and there are lots of free resources you can use. There's loads and loads of free online tools. But the other thing I would always say to people, if you haven't started a business yet, make sure you've got 12 months' money in the bank that you can live on before you start. If you've got a redundancy package, or if you're employed and you're saving up with the view to starting a business, having 12 months worth of living expenses in the bank before you start gives you the best possible opportunity to succeed in that business, because you won't run out of money then. It may take 6 months for the profits to come in, but you're covered. and you've got some money that you can invest and things like that, money you can draw on without having to mortgage the house and do all that silly stuff.